In this video, I'm going to show you how I built what I refer to as the Mega Moving Bed Filter. So this is a fully submersible moving bed filter that is completely air-driven only, completely runs on biological filtration only, and this was kind of an invention of mine that I came up with in my head because, as some of you know, I run all of my tanks on air only, and all of my tanks run on sponge filters, but I had this one fry tank that was just producing so much waste, and I had to feed so heavy in it. The sponge filters were just clogging up constantly. Now, I've run moving bed filters on other sump tanks a few years back, and I've run them on koi ponds as well, and I love the moving bed filter. I think it's one of the best forms of biological filters because it can't clog really. It's the lowest maintenance biological filter that you can get. And I think they look really cool too, especially when you can see in them like this. It looks like kind of like boiling spaghetti or boiling pasta is what people usually refer to it as, but I think it's kind of mesmerizing and I think it looks really cool. But I just needed something like this because it won't clog up, but it will provide me the same biological filtration, or at least similar filtration for biologic that I was getting with the sponge filters. Now I vacuum this tank too. It's very waste heavy. I do vacuum up the waste, but it will inevitably clog any sponge filter. So before I even start showing you how I made this, I just want to give you a complete disclaimer, because this thing came in a bit more expensive than I was hoping. It cost me, with all the stuff I put into this, roughly $210 to $215. But I still wanted to do the video even though I was wildly disappointed at the cost, because I wanted to show you guys in case my ideas will inspire you to make your own variation of this that is cheaper or better. So to begin this project, I started with 5 of these submersible moving bed filters that you can pick up on Amazon, and I'll throw the links to all of this stuff in the video description. I got most of the stuff on Amazon. But I started with 5 of these filters, and I wanted to configure a way to kind of attach them all to each other and make them one unit. But the thing that I didn't like when I received the filters is that they use suction cups in the back. Now, I hate using suction cups in aquariums, and I'm sure a lot of you guys hate them too. They just inevitably always fail. They get hard from just being in the water. I think it might be something to do with calcium or something, but the plastic gets hard, it loses its flexibility, and eventually they just fail. I've never had a suction cup that has lasted more than, a year or two in my aquariums. They always just fail on me, and then they end up needing to be replaced. And with these, this is probably a specific type of suction cup to these little filters, so I probably would have a hard time finding that exact suction cup again if I ever needed to replace it. So the first thing was trying to figure out how to attach all of these and do away with the suction cup feature. And this part took me a while to kind of brainstorm, because the way these suction cups attach to these filters is they just kind of slip over the back of these little cylinders. But these little cylinders also are hollow on the inside, so I figured out what the little diameter was inside these cylinders, and I was trying to figure out what I could put inside that hole and how I could secure something inside that hole. And then what came to my mind was having a crossbar that would attach all of these. So some type of crossbar that goes from each of these little cylinders across all 5 on the bottom and across all 5 on the top. And then I had to have something that came out of that hole and attached to the crossbar. And none of these components could be made out of metal, because metal obviously can't go in the aquarium. It'll rust. It just is not a good idea. So I had to do all of this with plastic or something similar. So I wrapped my head around this for a while, and this is the idea I came up with. So I got these clear acrylic solid tubes. Again, links to everything will be in the video description, but it came in a 36-inch length, and I cut it in half. And then I lined it up, and I drilled holes in it. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I had to figure out what I had to put inside of the holes in the cylinders that come off the filters. I found these acrylic bolts and fasteners, and they were the right size for what I was looking for here, and they were the right length. So I can't thread them inside the hole, but what I can do is I can put some super glue in each hole and then put them in the hole. And I took off the head of each bolt so that it was threaded on both sides and there was no head to it, and I inserted it with some super glue in each one, and now each one of those cylinders on the back of the filter had a super glued bolt, acrylic bolt coming out of it. I took those acrylic cylinders and I perfectly aligned them on a board, and I did the measurements out as to where each hole would need to be in them, and I used a board as a frame to kind of keep track of it, and I precisely drilled holes as straight as I could. And this is the part where you can really mess up, because if you drill the holes at different angles than each other, then the bolts aren't going to want to go in straight. To the best of my ability, I not perfectly, but I drilled the holes through the acrylic, and the acrylic kind of just melts. It doesn't crack as long as you're not applying too much force. But I drilled the holes where they needed to be, and then I was able to feed those acrylic bolts through the holes in the tube and use the fasteners on the other side. So now I had all 5 of these moving bed filters attached to one another, using these acrylic bars and these acrylic bolts that go through the bars and the little acrylic fasteners, and everything's super glued into place, and super glue, once it cures and dries, is aquarium safe. So these were all kind of together as one solid unit. They were parallel to each other. They were neat looking the way I wanted them to look. I just had to figure out a way to fasten them to the back of the aquarium now that I wasn't using suction cups. So that's where these little magnetic clips come into play. This is the alternative to suction cups. Some smart person out there has definitely patented this idea. You can grab these on Amazon. They're called MagClips, and you're gonna need. They do sell them in 2-packs, I think. So you'll need to buy 2 of the 2-packs to get 4 of the little magnetic clips that you're gonna need to fasten this to the back of your aquarium. But these magnetic clips come with a little clip that's just the right size to attach to that acrylic bar, and then the magnet just sits on each side of the glass, and that's your alternative to suction cups, and that's never gonna dull out or lose strength. And it's a really great idea, and kudos to the person who came up with that idea. But this is what I used to then fasten it to the back of the aquarium. I ran the Airlines to each one of these 5 filters, and I attached them all to a central air valve, air manifold, to control the air that's going to each one, so I could increase and decrease them individually. And then each one of these 5 filters came with a little sponge filter that's inside at the bottom of each unit. I removed the little sponge filter. The sponge is supposed to stop waste from going in there, but I'm not trying to have another sponge clog up. So I removed each one of these little circular sponges. I know that even though there is little floaty waste in this tank from the veggies I feed and some of the detritus, that it's not going to clog these moving bed filters because of the way, they're constantly churning. Any waste that gets in there is just going to end up going out the top anyway. And this filter is not designed to remove mechanical waste by any means. It's strictly biological. So, you're still going to have either have some type of mechanical filter or have some type of vacuuming routine to take out that physical waste. This is strictly a biological filter. But that was pretty much it, and this thing was then ready to go inside the tank. I kind of put it as close to the water surface as I could without it breaking the surface to kind of ease some of the amount of bubble noise. I'll play a short clip for you right now of some of the bubble noise, but it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But anyways, that kind of concludes this little project. I'm sorry about my style of, these tutorial videos. I'm not very good at capturing myself actually doing the work. I just kind of take periodic little video clips and little pictures, but I'm not good at capturing the work as I'm doing it. And that's mainly because I kind of problem solve while I'm doing it and kind of figure it out along the way. This was my first time making one of these too. And based on the cost, it might be my last time too. Like I said, $210 to $215 was way more than I thought this was going to cost me. But I still wanted to upload this video and show you guys because, I've gotten messages from fans, from viewers that have recreated some of the things I've made, and they've done it in a better way than I have even. So I figured I'd throw this out there to see if, maybe somebody wants to either recreate this, build upon this, scale it down, scale it up, improve a certain part that I did. I'll put the links to everything I used in the video description down below. Feel free to leave a comment with what you thought of this in the comments down below, and if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button for lots of great aquarium content just like this. And as always, thank you for watching.